Now, I just turned 32, and with that, I wanted to share my 12 years of experience on what has worked and not worked after going from gyms to home to building my own programs, all that stuff, and lay it out for you so you can make a decision on what you can do in your home training, gym training, or whatever it is you want to do in your life. So with that, let's jump back 12 years to my sophomore year of college when I actually started to work out. Yes, I didn't start working out until my sophomore year of college, and since then, it's gone pretty steady up until now. So when I first began, my college did have a tiny gym. So with that, I actually went and got a membership at Best Fitness out in Nashua, New Hampshire. So I did use a gym my first 3 years of working out, and then eventually I did move to home training. And don't get me wrong, I actually really did enjoy the gym, especially starting out. It wasn't until the later years where I moved away from it and where time constraints became a thing and getting my first job and all that stuff. So that's kind of where I went from the gym life to home life. But let's jump into how I started doing my home training. And just like many people, P90X was the big thing then. So I actually did start with P90X1, never did P90X2, but I did jump into P90X3. This was before I had any kind of programming experience, before I was a certified trainer in NASM. So all of this stuff came to me just trying to figure things out and doing it on my own. And I'm actually really happy I did because it's really changed the way I've thought about doing training since then, as I feel like a lot of that programming stuff is completely the wrong way for most people. And also, this is when Insanity was around, still my least favorite program I've ever done to date. So let's backtrack just a little bit at first. So I actually gained a lot of my initial results in the first 2 years simply because I went to the gym and I worked hard. Yes, I'd be there a long time, but I pushed myself very hard doing that. So I was following like six-pack shortcuts, guys, things I saw on YouTube. I'd just throw it all out there, but I did it at a high level of intensity. It wasn't like I was just pushing weight, doing just random reps until I felt like it. I pretty much did everything to failure, and it showed. And luckily, because I was young enough and I kind of ate a lot of protein and stuff like that at my college and whatnot, I was able to put on a lot of muscle pretty quickly. So genetically, it looks like I can build muscle pretty easily if I push myself hard enough. But just know, in the first 2 years, I pretty much maxed out my potential because I was able to work out really hard and also provide the protein and rest to recover. However, when it came to rest and sports, that's where I probably ran into my biggest issue, where if I looked back now, I would have programmed my lifting more around my training for my sport, which was baseball in college, as I didn't really do that, and I think it did hurt me in the long run. So with that, in my first 2 years, I did go from 165 pounds to around 185 pounds, which is where I am today, and trying to continue to hold this weight and size as I do like it, maybe become a little bit more defined in my results, but overall, I actually like the size I am now. When I get bigger, I just feel like there's too much mass being like moved around, and when I'm smaller, then I feel like I'm not strong enough. So I kind of like right at 180 to 185 is where I feel the most comfortable. So after my first 3 years of working out in gyms, eventually I did graduate from college, and I would be getting my first jobs. Now this is where I really started to focus on doing home workouts because I just hated working all day and then traveling to a gym to just get bombarded by people being there and kind of getting in the way of me using my equipment. So this is where I mentally had to say, do I want to work out at a gym or at home? And at first, I did have both. So luckily, my work was pretty close to a gym, so I could just kind of pop over after work. I worked at a golf course initially until working for Kohl's for like 2 months, and then to where I work actually now. So I did bounce around quite a bit, but I did go from the gym to home and eventually stayed at the home full time. And then this is where the craze of finding a program began. So again, I did things like P90X, I did Insanity, I did like Metabolic, whatever you want to call it. I don't even remember the name anymore, but I went through a lot of programs and tested them. I actually started off with a different website design called Easy Home Fitness Trainer that I started a while ago, but it just kind of didn't hit right with me as I wanted to do something more gamer like centric like I am now, because I do play a lot of video games. I know a lot of people do. So that was kind of my focus on building the GamerBody channel. But before, it was just how to work out at home easily with what you have. But now, as the years have continued to progress, I've definitely changed my ways quite a lot. I went from doing like a ton of workouts, like a lot of sets, a lot of that kind of stuff, to really just focusing on what do you actually need? What actually builds muscle? What do you need to focus on? Do you actually need a ton of weight to do it? So those are kind of the questions I've had. Do you intermittent fasting, time of day you work out? Like all of those things are what I focus on. Also decided to get certified as a trainer when I lived down in California for a few years. So That was for NASM. There's still a lot of things I don't agree with in their programming alone that I think just a lot of people don't need. Yes, sport-specific people, maybe you apply some of that stuff, but you really don't need half the stuff if you're just the average person. So this is where I kind of fought back against what I had been doing and seeing, and really just tried to take in what do I actually need to get the results that I want, which is mainly just building muscle and having good general strength for everyday life. And then as I got older, so my mid 20s to now into my 30s, it really has become very bare bones in what I do, but I do it at an intensity that's able to build muscle and even keep what I have while still enjoying life and then being able to work, do all the things I want, and play with my dogs, have my wife, and all those things. Maybe when I have kids, I'll have time in the future. So all of those come into play on how I kind of program my things now into my everyday life and design and the equipment I pick out and then review a lot on the GamerBody channel. So with that, here are some things I mainly focus on when it comes to lifting after reviewing all the stuff over the past, let's say 12 years now. So one, consistency is obviously the most important thing. You need to make sure that you are going to the gym, your home, wherever it is you work out, and you have to show up and actually do the work. I don't lollygag around a lot. When I lift, I actually get there, I focus, I do what I need to do, and then I leave. I know a lot of people might sit there on their phones for a long time, take long sets, long breaks between sets. That wasn't really me. I keep it moving, keep things just moving along really well so that I can get in and out as quick as possible. My second tip is you need to have intensity in your workout. So you need to be trying to get as close to failure as you can while also being safe. So yes, going to failure on some exercises could be dangerous if you don't set up right or you don't have a partner. It's also very, very hard to actually reach real failure by yourself. If you're using equipment, like some kind of machine, or you have a spotter with you, a trainer with you, then it's a lot easier. But if you're like me working out at home, it is very hard to actually reach that failure point. So for me, this is why I do multiple sets. If I could do it in one, I would. I keep my workouts super short. But I think mentally, when I'm doing this, yes, I am pushing really hard, but I don't think I'm actually reaching failure. So then I'll do 2 to 3 sets. I really never do more than 3. So just know that. But for now, you could do everything in one set, but it is very, very difficult for the average person to do that without some kind of guidance or using a machine to do that, to just do it safely. And that leads to my next tip. Do things in a safe manner. Stop trying to do all these crazy Instagram workouts and exercises, jumping all around, Bosu balling, whatever it might be. You want to actually be stable when you're working out and focus on the target muscle group having all of the tension on it during your exercise. So also when going through the full range of motion, what that should mean to you is you don't want to be locking out at each end because you don't want the tendons and ligaments taking all of the resistance that you're using. You want the muscle to be under tension the entire time. Now, you might then fight that this is time under tension. That's not how I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking that during my set, I want to make sure I have tension on the target muscle throughout the entire set. Not that it has to have some arbitrary number behind it. All I'm trying to do is that the tension on that muscle until I can't do the exercise anymore safely. Which would also mean make sure you're in good technique and form while doing that exercise. If you break form, might as well just end the set, add another one if you feel like you left it and didn't do it properly. Alright, so now moving away from some of the fitness principles, let's look at some of the nutritional ones. One of the big ones I got from Fit Father Project that I really like is that if your plate consists of 1/2 fibrous carbs, 1/4 starchy carbs, and 1/4 protein, you have a really good plate build overall to kind of get all of the macro and micronutrients that you'll need. Again, I completely stole this from Fit Father Project, but it's something I always review now to make sure my plates are kind of set up like this. Now, yes, if I go out and eat, I'm never going to be hitting that with like a plate that I get from a restaurant unless I get a salad with like chicken in it and maybe like a side of potatoes. Like, in those cases, I make exceptions, so don't get me wrong. If you follow my Instagram, you'll see a lot of things that like don't quite fit what I'm saying here, because a lot of the time I'm just buying like protein and stuff that I like to enjoy and eat. But when I build my own plates at home, so if I'm cooking my own or making like even every plate, when I look at every plate meals, I'm still having that thought in my head on this is how close I want my plate build to be in order to kind of get those macro and micronutrients. Now, of course, calories do matter depending on your goals. If you're looking to burn body fat, you have to be in a calorie deficit no matter what anyone's telling you. Hormonally, whatever, if you're not in a calorie deficit, you will not lose weight. It does not matter. So that is a must if you're looking to burn off body fat. But if you're looking to build muscle, you really just need to make sure you have enough protein. Excess calories can help you have more energy, but you don't technically need to have more calories overall in order to build muscle. It just can't be so low that you're burning away muscle instead of trying to build it. So that's my goal. I really just focus on trying to get the protein, which I just try to go for 1 pound per target body weight. So for me, that'd be around 180. So I try to get around 180 grams per day. However that is, if I have to use protein powder, if I have to use, like, eat a lot of chicken, whatever it might be, I'm still focusing on that being the main goal. And then everything else kind of fills in based on that plate design. And the last one I'm going to leave everyone with is recovery, as I feel it is very, very underrated. If you are someone who is natural and going to stay that way, especially as you get into your 30s and older, you are going to need probably more recovery as your intensity increases. So what should be happening when you first start lifting? You may need to take more sets. Like I said, I do multiple sets, mainly because I don't feel like I reach actual failure. But in the beginning, you probably don't actually want to go to failure while you're learning the skill of a movement. There's skills, and then there's actually the intensity of the exercise that you're using. So one's really used to build muscle. The other is to learn the proper form and technique. So in the beginning, learn the form and technique using multiple sets. Don't have to go all the way to failure, just like kind of push yourself hard. And then as you get better at the form and technique, that is where you raise the intensity, so you need less sets overall, but you still fatigue the muscle enough so that's in enough tension and you get that stimulus to tell the body it has to get bigger and stronger. Yes, you can do this in one set, but when you're starting out, you probably won't be able to, so you're going to learn the technique, then raise the intensity later. So as you do that and you go through the years and you keep raising that intensity, you probably will need more recovery, especially as you get into older age. So when you get to like your 40s and 50s, you probably will need more recovery time because your body is it's not in its 20s anymore. It can't recover like it used to. Now, if you're taking steroids, other enhancers, those are what help with recovery. So again, like bodybuilders who are taking steroids recover faster, allowing them to work out more often. Yes, they can go at a high intensity because, again, they're bigger. They've been lifting for a long time usually. They have a good muscle mass to them. It can lift a lot of weight. But just know they take those steroids and other supplements in order to recover faster so they can lift up more often in order to get that stimulus. Now, if you're natural, you probably won't have that same type of response. So you still need to work out really hard and all that stuff, get nutrition, but you may need more recovery time as you age in order to see the results, because what you're doing again during the workout is you're breaking down your muscles. Again, it's a stress on the body, stress on your muscles to go through that kind of thing. So from there, your body has to first recover from your workouts. So again, using the proteins and rest time that you have, it's recovering from the workout. And then if you gave it a great enough stimulus, like your body wants to protect from that happening again. So what it'll do is it'll add additional muscle on top of it, again, as long as you're getting in the protein requirements with enough calories and you provide enough time for that build to happen. So those are the 5 tips I'm going to leave with you. Nothing crazy out of the ordinary. Most people are going to know this. I added a bit more context to try and just show you that's all you really need to be focusing on, especially as someone who's the average lifter. But again, if you're looking to compete or something like that, these things will change because competing has skill components to it, where just building muscle and getting stronger really just focuses on the muscle being under the stimulus. You really don't want to be mixing the two. You should actually probably be separating them as much as possible. Focus on the skill of something, then focusing on the muscle. They might kind of intermix at points, but you really should focus on them as separate pieces that then work together when you compete. Now, a lot of people might come back and say volume is the driver of intensity, and I'm going to agree and disagree with you as well. So, in some instances, like if you're not going to failure, you will need more volume in order to see good results. If you're leaving reps in the tank, how would you even know if you create enough stimulus to get bigger and stronger? Again, people who respond to lifting well might be able to be 2, 3, even 5 reps from failure and still see results. But the average individual probably won't. You will probably need to at least get within 2 reps of failure. Like that's my minimum for the average person. Go make sure you're no more than 2 reps from failure. But again, even for myself, that is hard to determine. So if I go to what I think is failure, at least I've probably got within that 2 rep range of failure, so that when I do my 1 or 2 sets later, I'll know I've actually created a stimulus to build muscle. And then genetics will play a big part in how much I'm actually able to build, as not everyone like myself, I would probably not be able to ever step on stage as a like bigger bodybuilder to compete there. I might be able to go on stage for just like, I don't know, a general competition if I really want to put myself out there. Again, I have no plans on ever doing that. I like just working out at home, being in good shape, and being just improving my life in general. But just know that not everyone responds that well to working out. Actually, the majority of people really will never be able to step on stage. I know all the Instagrams and everyone's like, if you push yourself hard enough, work harder than the next person, you will. But really, it's just not in the cards for most people. Just like being an athlete, like a top athlete, is just not in the cards for the vast majority of people on this planet. Yes, you can strive to get there, but the chances of you getting there are low. I know that sucks to hear. It is low, but just know that's how it works with bodybuilding, building muscle, and all of that stuff. So you have to take all of this into account. And as I've aged, I've kind of really started to learn all of that. So I really just focus on how do I continue to improve my results week to week while working out at home with the equipment I have. How can I enhance the equipment while also keeping it in a decent price range? And then present it to you guys so that you can make the decision on how you'd like to work out, whether that be at home, in a gym, and then really focusing on the things that matter when it comes to building muscle and living a better life. So I know I rambled on a lot in this, but if you do want to see my starter program, I think pretty much everyone should at least focus on in the beginning. You can move on to whatever you want from there. See the program over at the video on screen now so that you can begin to enhance your results and then from there build a stronger, more capable body.